Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudevaya. So I offer my obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and ask him to bring the torchlight of knowledge to free me from the darkness of ignorance. So if we can all pray that I will have my defects removed and my anarthas and I can become Krishna conscious, I would be happy. Thank you. Hare Krishna. It's chapter 5, text 18. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmani Gavi Hastini Suni Chaiva Sva Pake Cha Pandita Sama Darshanaha Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmani Gavi Hastini Sune Chaiva Sva Pake Cha Pandita Sama Darshanaha. Vidya, with education. Vinaya, and gentleness. Sampane, fully equipped. Brahmane, in the Brahman. Gavi, in the cow. Hastini, in the elephant. Suni, in the dog. Cha, and Eva, certainly. Svapake, in the dog eater, the outcast. Cha, respectively. Pandita, those who are wise. Samadarshanaha, who see with equal vision. And the verse. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater outcast. So now we'll repeat that. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater outcast. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. A Krishna-conscious person does not make any distinction between species or castes. The Brahmana and the outcast may be different from the social point of view. Or a dog, a cow, and an elephant may be different from the point of view of species. But these differences of body are meaningless from the point of view, from the viewpoint of a learned transcendentalist. This is due to their relationship to the Supreme. For the Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion as Paramatma, is present in everyone's heart. Such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge. As far as the bodies are concerned, in different castes or different species of life, the Lord is equally kind to everyone because he treats every living being as a friend, yet maintains himself as Paramatma, regardless of the circumstances of the living entities. The Lord as Paramatma is present both in the outcast and in the Brahman. Although the body of the Brahmana and that of an outcast are not the same, The bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature. But the soul and the supersoul within the body are of the same quality. The similarity in quality of the soul and the supersoul, however, does not make them equal in quantity. For the individual soul is present only in that particular body, whereas the Paramatma is present in each and every body. A Krishna-conscious person has full knowledge of this, and therefore he is truly learned and has equal vision. The similar characteristics of the soul and the supersoul are that they are both conscious, eternal, and blissful. But the difference is that the individual soul is conscious within the limited jurisdiction of the body, whereas the supersoul is conscious of all bodies. The supersoul is present in all bodies without distinction. Om Jnana Timiranyasa Gina Gina Salakaya Chaksurin Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we'll discuss some of these points. It starts out here with this humble sage by virtue of true knowledge. This is something we find, that people think that if they have knowledge, they should be very puffed up and very proud that I'm a Brahmin, or I'm a learned scholar, or I have so much education, or I know about business. But we find that real knowledge brings humility, because real knowledge tells us that we are an important part, but a part of something that is much greater, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so in that light, we realize that we are small. And by being small, we can be humble. Even though we're proud to be a devotee of Krishna, we are proud of Radha and Krishna and Prabhupada, but we are not proud of ourselves on our own account. We find some of the things that are being discussed here, like seeing all of these with an equal vision, that this is the true knowledge. We find this in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. In the qualities of a divine person, a couple have mentioned are modesty, which is humility. This is one of the qualities of a devotee, to be humble, not to think how great he is, and to have compassion for all living entities. So when a person thinks that he is very smart and he doesn't need others, or he looks down on others, then he doesn't really have true knowledge. This is the knowledge of a true Brahmin, not the so-called caste Brahmins who simply want to say they were born in a family and automatically that makes them qualified, which may give them the opportunity, but it doesn't automatically give them that, right? It's like the son of Sachin Tendulkar may have the chance to become a cricket player, right? But without practice, would they put him, the son, on the team? Just because he says, well, I was born in India and my father is the great cricket player, Sachin Tendulkar, so you should put me on the team without any training, right? Shouldn't? No? He needs some training? Or if you go for an operation, you say, don't go to the real doctor, go to the man who is the son of a doctor. Yes? Is that where they should go, right? Yes? No. It may help to be that. If you're the son of Sachin Tendulkar, there's a good chance you can learn cricket, but you still have to apply yourself to this. So these are some important points that we're looking at. In fact, when we look at the true knowledge, something in the verse before, verse 17, in one's mind, when one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of all misgivings through complete knowledge, and then proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So what are these misgivings? The misgivings are to see that each of these people is different. To see that one is born as a dog and one is a dog eater and one is a Brahmin, to think that they're all different and to think that my birth makes me better. Yes? The size of the spirit soul is the same, regardless. So this is the true knowledge, to be free of this misgiving. And it takes this kind of true knowledge to get this. Because we find Krishna explains this very clearly in Bhagavad-Gita. Just like we discussed when I gave the last class, that the Christian theologians have to spend so much time trying to explain how, whether there's free will or everything is predestined by God, and even more important, how can God be all good, but there can be evil in the world? But in the 15th verse of this chapter, Krishna explained those concepts completely, just in one verse. And they go through volumes of trying to explain it, and yet it still isn't there. So we should study this knowledge, because this knowledge is very vast, even condensed into the Bhagavad Gita. Another thing Krishna is talking about, how the soul is inside of each one of them. We find that in some of these other theologies, like for instance the Muslims, Christians, the Jews, they have an inconsistent idea about what is matter and what is spirit, what is the body and what is the soul. One way they particularly do this is they think that the body should be buried. You know why they bury the body? Who can tell me? And the Indians know why they bury it? See if they can answer first. Why do they bury the body?
So that you can keep it back and kind of respect.
That's one thing they do, but what is the real reason? What do they think happens to the body? What? They think it will be resurrected. So if that's true, it's better to die young, right? Because if you die at 90, then you get resurrected as 90?
In a long time. Resurrection takes place after a long time.
Yes, but I mean the body, if you died and that body is going to be resurrected, then it's better to die in a young body. If you die in an old body, you'll be resurrected and be old forever. So we find that the difference between the soul and the body is very clearly explained by Krishna early in the Bhagavad Gita. The difference in the second chapter, he goes into the ideas that of the eternal, there is no cessation, and of the non-existence, there is no continuing, meaning that the material things dwindle away and the spirit goes forever. And he explains that just like you give up old clothes and pick up new clothes, similarly the soul takes a new body at the point of birth. He makes a clear understanding of the distinction between the body and the soul. And this is something we don't find in other theologies. That's something that's an unclear idea. And if that's true, then it's very hard to get rid of these distinctions, because then I'm Indian or Mexican or Chinese or black or Russian forever. So if I hated the people from South India, when I go to the spiritual world with them, we're still going to hate each other? If India and Pakistan hate each other, does that mean we go to the spiritual world as Indians and Pakistanis and hate each other? No. This is not the concept. These are temporary conditions. Like Krishna says with the clothes. I'm wearing blue because they say, Sanivar ke liye nila acha range. For Saturday, blue is a good color. But tomorrow I will wear maroon. And on Monday I will wear white. And this means I'm a different person every day, right? Does it? Today you will address me as Mr. Neelish Kurta. And tomorrow you will call me Mr. Lal Kurta, and on Monday you will call me Mr. Safed Kurta, yes? Is that right? Or am I the same person? The same person. So this is very clearly described by Krishna in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. So one of the other things they have is that Krishna explains about the soul, that whether it's the soul in the cow or the brahmana, it's the same quality of soul. And Krishna explains about the nature of the soul. Now, what's the difference in how we explain the soul and Christians explain the soul? Who can explain the difference? Do you know? Do you know something of it? We teach pure soul theology, that the soul is pure, like water is pure. But if it's mixed with dirt, it becomes dirty. Or if it's mixed with red, green, or blue, it becomes red, green, or blue. So it is mixed with impurities, but you take them out, and the soul is originally pure. Does Christianity teach this? What do they teach? They call it fractured soul theology. And I didn't come up, they even say this themselves. They say the soul is fractured, broken, incomplete. And without someone to help you, it is incomplete and it is bad. Right? If you were telling your children, say you have two children, and one of them, they have dolls, and one doll says, oh, he says to the doll, you're a very pure doll, and you're pure inside. The other one says, you're fractured, and you're broken, and you're bad. Which would you sound like better upbringing? So we should be thankful that we have an understanding of this pure soul theology that's taught in the Bhagavad-Gita, to understand that we are covered, but we ourselves are not impure. It keeps blowing away from my place here. So it says here, a Krishna-conscious person does not make any distinction between the species or the castes. The Brahmana and the outcast may be different, but these differences of body are meaningless from the viewpoint of the learned transcendentalist, because he sees that inside every living being is a soul. Doesn't matter what condition of life they're in, they're a soul. And by seeing this, we see things as they actually are. Just like if we think in the shirt, and I put the shirt over there, and you go over and talk to the shirt. Yes? Then they think, no, he's not the shirt. That's just his covering. You should go talk to him. So the learned transcendentalist sees the difference between what someone's body is and what someone's soul is. They don't judge them as being Indian or non-Indian, or whether they are young or old. The idea we have is that God is the root of the tree, and we're all the different leaves. Maybe some of the leaves come from America, some of the leaves come from South India, some come from Pakistan or China or Malaysia. Some of the leaves like you are younger, some leaves like me are older, but we're all on the same tree, right? Whether we're the cow, the dog eater, the brahmana, they're different leaves on the same tree. Might be bigger leaves or smaller leaves, but they're all leaves, and they all are connected to the same root. And in selfishness, we think, let me forget about the root of the tree. I'll just water my leaf. Is that a good idea? What happens when you do that? If you just water your leaf lives and the other leaves die? Does it work? No. What if you water the root and don't water your leaf at all? Will that help? Yes, because the water goes through the roots to the tree. So we find that we're all connected. Whether we think we're something big or something small, we're unimportant by ourselves, like a screw to this, or a piece of a car, right? Connected here is very important, but loose is just a little screw, right? A little nut in the tire of a car, right? It may just be a nut, but if it falls out, the wheel may fall off and the whole car has an accident. So in connection with Krishna, we all may become important, whether we're the ant or the dog eater or the dog. And we're unimportant if we think we're something big. So this is the problem in this world, is that everyone thinks they're so important. One person in Laguna Beach would always tell me, he says, I may not be much, but I'm all I think about. We think, oh, how bad we are. Oh, how great we are. And still we're just thinking of ourselves instead of thinking of Krishna or others. And this is showing here an idea of unity and diversity. It's a diverse condition between a dog and an elephant and a brahmana and a dog eater. But there is unity because they all have a spirit soul inside. And as it says, Krishna is the friend to all of them. So what we need to do is, instead of looking down on other people, this is one of the problems in India, is that some of the people say, well, I'm born in the Brahmin caste, I'm automatically better than the others. Okay, fine if they teach them something. But many times they don't teach them how to get free from material attachment and to develop devotion to Krishna. They teach them the Karma Kanda section, how to do a puja to get some material benefit. Say you do a puja and a car manifests, or you get a newer house or a better wife. Will that take you back to Godhead? Is that our goal? It isn't our goal. Our goal is to get bhakti. So when they say, I'm a learned person, I'm going to teach you, and they teach you something that won't help you spiritually, this is not the proper use of teaching. What should be taught is what's taught here in Bhagavad-Gita, how to surrender to Krishna, not to do the things to get some material benefit. Krishna says we have a right. Many Indians say, yes, Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita that I have a right to perform my duty. But they forget the last half of the verse says, but I'm not allowed to be attached to the result. We're supposed to be working for Krishna in no matter what condition that we're in. So everybody is looking for this real friend. And the real friend is there waiting for us. We find that it explains in the Upanishads that there's two birds in the tree, the eating bird and the observing bird. We are the eating bird. We are trying to eat the fruits of our labor and enjoy what's in front of us. But Krishna, the Paramatma inside, he is just observing, waiting patiently for us to turn to him. And once we turn to him, then our journey begins. Doesn't matter how great we are, if we don't turn to Krishna, we won't make progress towards Krishna. And it doesn't matter how bad we are, if we do like Rama says in the Ramayana, that if somebody says, from this day forward, I am yours, no matter what he's done before, he will accept that person. And he will give him the courage to engage in the devotion, to say, from this day forward, I am yours. We don't think, well, I've already done so much service, I don't need to surrender. Or I'm so bad, right? If I come to you with a kilo of gold, will you say, oh, I'm so poor it won't help me? Or I'm already have money, I don't need it? Or will you just take it and stop speculating about it? Yes? Somebody has the kilo of gold, will you speculate about it or just take the advantage when it's there? So this works materially, but it should work spiritually too, that we should take advantage of Krishna's mercy when it is presented to us. Later on in the purport here, it says, the similarity in quantity does not make the soul and the supersoul equal. We find this, it's like Prabhupada gives the example in one of his lectures, that it's just like there's an apartment building, and you are the controller of your one apartment, but the landlord is the controller of all of them. So we are inside our heart, and Krishna is inside our heart, but he's also inside the hearts of all the other beings. So even though we respect the other people, and even though we have the same common spirituality, we take care of our own activities first. Arjuna asked this question in Bhagavad-Gita also, that in the chapter Nature, Enjoyer, and Consciousness, he says, what is the field of activities, and who is the knower of that field? And Krishna says, your mind and body are your field of activities, and you are the knower of that field of activities. But only I am the knower of all the other people's field of activities. So what we do is that we concentrate on what our duty is, and how I can see that common spiritual part inside of all beings. And we find this, that earlier in Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna is asked by Arjuna that what is better? Do I study the analytical nature of the material nature? This is called Sankhya, understanding what's matter, what's spirit, kind of adding it all up, counting. He says, which is better, to do that or to do bhakti? And what does Krishna say? Somebody must know. In this verse, is true, later on he says that, but he says one who's applied himself well to one of the two processes achieves the result of both. Because if you do the analytical study of material nature, you will find that Krishna is the root of existence, and then you will water that root. And if you water that root, then you will realize that Krishna is the root of existence. So knowledge brings you to surrendering to Krishna, and surrendering to Krishna brings you to knowledge. But the problem of just doing the analytical study is if you don't complete the process, you don't get any credit. Whereas when you do bhakti, if you have 5% advancement, 10%, 20%, whatever it is, you get that even to take to the next life. So both processes are valid, but bhakti is, of course, the supreme goal, because when you finish with the Sankhya, then you end up engaging in bhakti. And if you engage in bhakti, you get the result of Sankhya. So what we do is we put bhakti first. But we do study this knowledge, because as Prabhupada says, if studying alone is mental speculation or just armchair philosophy. But if we practice religion without philosophy, it can become sentimental or fanatical. We think only my religion, all other people are bad. So if we culture knowledge as part of devotion, then we will understand. And this is why we need to see this. This is the knowledge we need to culture here. Not just to think, yes, knowledge is devotion, and I am a devotee, and I am a great Brahmin, and I push everyone out of the way. Does this make us an Uttama Adhikari, the topmost devotee? Does it make us a Madhyama Adhikari, or is it a Kanishta, the third class, to think that only I'm a devotee? It's a Kanishta. So when we're thinking we're so great and others aren't, this is not a qualification, this is a disqualification. We should be thinking how great others are and how we can help those others. Because that's the good part, is no matter how small we are or how fallen we are, if we turn towards Krishna, Krishna will help us. Doesn't matter who we are. So the person that's why Lord Chaitanya is called Patita Pavana Gaurahari, deliver the most fallen. Just like a Jagai and Madai, Nityananda approached them because they were great scholars and ready to help him in devotional service. Was that it? Was that the story? It wasn't. They were the most sinful. And they even hit Nityananda in the head with a pot. But when they surrendered, they were able to get the mercy. That's the amazing part. is we think we're so great, we may miss out on the mercy. We remain humble and realize that I'm just a small spiritual spark and I have to surrender no matter where I'm at. Then we'll make advancement. This is the amazing factor in that. Someone can be very great. This is one of the problems in India, is that people born in the Brahmin family think that automatically that they are big and they are great. Or in all the countries, the politicians may think, it's probably better in this country than in some of them. It's getting a little strange now with Putin and Trump and the leader of China and all the others who have it better here. But we find, just as the persons that are small, when they surrender to Krishna, they become great. If you're thinking you're something great, even if you are something real important, you think you can trick Krishna, right? Right? Because no matter how smart you are, without Krishna's mercy, you won't understand him. Brahma wrote in that verse, Advaitim Achyutim Anadim Anantarupam Adim Puranam Purusham Navajovanamscha Vedeshu Durlabha Adurlabha Bhakto Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Because Krishna is hard to understand. Because we are subject to the law of contradiction. If I'm old, I can't be young. If I'm in India, I can't be in America. If I'm inside, I can't be outside. Krishna is not subject to this contradiction. He's Advaitim, he's infallible, he's Achyutim. Advaitim is non-dual, Achyutim is infallible. He's Ananta Rupam, existing in unlimited forms. And he is Ajam Puranam Purusham, the oldest person in creation. So is God painted as an old person? Is he? Where? Yes, he's painted that way. Doesn't mean he is. That's what Michelangelo, he paints God as an old man reaching out to touch Adam to give him life. But if you're God, what's the use of being God if you have to be an old man? If you're God, wouldn't you have the choice? So see, this is a law of contradiction to us. If you're the oldest person, you can't also be Navajovanamscha, appearing as a fresh youth. You're either one or the other, right? Isn't it? Can you be the biggest and the smallest? You can't, but Krishna can. And then he says that he is Vedeshu Durlabha Adurlabha Bhakto, that he is difficult to understand just by studying, but easy to understand by practicing devotion. So we see that common spirituality and that each person is equal, right? Lord Rama taught this message to Hanuman when Hanuman was throwing the big boulders to build the bridge to Lanka. And a squirrel was kicking dust in. He says, move out of the way. And the squirrel says, I'm helping too. And Rama says to Hanuman, Hanuman, what are you doing? He says, I'm trying to build a bridge and the squirrel is in my way. Rama says to Hanuman, where do you get your strength from? He says, I get it from you, my lord. He says, where does the squirrel get his strength? He says, he also gets it from you. Rama says, then you're both doing your service to your capacity. It's both equal. And then Hanuman felt bad for that. But sometimes even smart people can get it mixed up and think they'll trick Krishna. We'll tell the story of someone who tricked Krishna. He set out to trick Krishna. What happened was, when Krishna went out with the cowherd boys, he was playing just like a cowherd boy and playing the flute. And the demigods like Brahma and the others were watching him, and he's going, how is it that Narayan is just a cowherd boy? Then he goes inside the Aghasura demon, and he expands himself so big the demon chokes, and they see the light of the demon goes outside and then comes back inside of Krishna, right? So then Krishna is going down the road with his cowherd friends, and they're tired after spending time inside this ugly, smelly snake. And so they find a spot on the bank of the Yamuna, And Krishna says, look, this is a great place for us to stop. Right here, there's a little brook coming off the Jamuna, and you can hear the bees buzzing, and the birds are chirping, and the peacocks are cooing, and you can smell the smell of mogras and jasmine and champak and roses in the air, and you can hear the leaves rustling, and the brook is babbling. So all the cowherd boys put Krishna in the center, and they put their lunches either on like wood logs or wood chips or leaves or just in the sand. And they all looked so intently at Krishna as they were taking their lunch. And they were looking so intently at Krishna that they didn't notice anything else. Particularly, they didn't notice that the calves had wandered off and the calves were gone. All of a sudden, the cowherd boys said, Krishna, Krishna, look, the calves are all gone. We better look for them. Now, even though Krishna's God, he said, don't worry, you keep taking your lunch. I will go to look for these cows, the calves. And so he stuck his flute in one side of his sash and the buffalo horn in the other, and he had the ladu in his hand, and he goes around to look for the calves. And he can't find them, and he came back, and the cowherd boys were gone. Because what happened was that Brahma was wondering, how can he be a cowherd boy and be God too? Like, how could he be the oldest person and the youngest person? These are contradictions. We're subject to the law of contradiction. He didn't see how Krishna wasn't. And nobody could be bigger than Brahma, right? So this is how Brahma tricked Krishna, right? Is it? Yes? That's what he thought. He thought he was going to write a chapter called Krishna Vimohan Leela, how he tricked Krishna. But Krishna played along, but he was playing him along, right? Right? It's just like if I know what you're doing and I play along with it, you think, oh, good, he's fallen for my trick, right? I leave the back door open, oh, good, he's fallen, you come inside and we catch you, right? So he thought he tricked Krishna. So Krishna expanded as all the cows and cowherd boys, and they all went home to Vrindavan, and both the cows, who were the mothers of the calves, and the parents of the boys even loved them more because they were actually Krishna, the personality of Godhead. And this went on for about a year. And somebody says, oh, can this be explained exactly how Krishna did this? And I said, yes, but not by me to you. It could be explained by Krishna to Balaram because he's qualified to understand this. It's not as if I'm going to write a formula on a chalkboard that shows, I mean, such a thing is possible, but not something that I could write and you could understand. Even they asked Albert Einstein, can you explain the theory of relativity? He said, yes, but not in such a way that you would understand it. So if that couldn't be explained, how could it be explained how Krishna expanded into the cows and the calves and the cowherd boys? But he did do it. So when Brahma came back a moment later and saw that the cows and the boys were still there playing, he looked back in the cave and saw that the boys were still asleep and the cows there, and he came back and he was totally bewildered. So it turned out it wasn't Krishna being tricked, it was Brahma being tricked. Krishna played along with it just to make it seem even better when he pulled the wool on Brahma. So Brahma realized he'd made a mistake and he paid his dandavat. He fell down just like a stick, right? And he offered his obeisances to Krishna, because then he realized no matter how big I am, I'm still subject to Krishna's energy. And I still have that same spark inside. Whether you're the ant or the elephant or the dog or Brahma or a Brahmin, we all have the same spiritual spark inside of us. And when we try to act separately from Krishna, we can become fooled and bewildered. But when we surrender to Krishna, he takes care of us, no matter who we are, because he wants to be our special friend. And if we just turn towards him and surrender, Krishna will make everything right. The choice is ours. So we just have to make that choice and say, Krishna, from this day forward, I am yours. And I will look at all beings as your equal parts and parcels, and I will think, how can I serve you, and how can I serve your devotees and your parts and parcels? Thank you. Any question or comment? Yes? No question? Any disagreement? You wish Teja Prakash had given the class instead? Was it okay? How do you know he wouldn't give a better class? Yes. Yes. Well, because he was comfortable not thinking about being the body, they picked up on that and they didn't worry about it. They knew he wasn't on the bodily platform. They find the same thing, like if you're wearing a dhoti, say in a place where people don't wear dhotis, if you feel comfortable about it, people seem to be okay with it. They say, boy, you seem comfortable wearing that. Can you tell me what this is about? But if you're looking around wondering who's looking at you wearing it, they think differently. So if you're comfortable in your spiritual position, people will treat you differently. They could pick up on the energy, right? Isn't it? Just like if you walk by and a man just kind of looks at you, or he looks at you like he's staring at you, tell the difference, right? So it's like that. He's not worried about them. He's not looking at their bodies. He's not trying to enjoy with them. So they could see that. I don't know what that had to do with today's verse, but it's something in there.
Well,
yes.
as you were speaking, that all the living entity, the soul is within them.
Yes.
So all the living entities, they have a soul. But the thinking of each and
No, they don't have a soul. They are the soul. And they have a body. It's not that we have a soul. We are, and it's not that we are the body and we have a soul. We are the soul and we have a body. So the soul has different kinds of bodies.
But then there's a different kind of thinking of each and every
Yes.
conditioned soul.
Yes,
Why not the thinking is same also?
because the covering is different. Just like water. Water is all the same, but you color it with red, blue, green, or yellow. Or if you make dirty water, you can drink the water from the purifier, but you can't drink the water from the tap. It's all water, but something else is in it that covers it. Right?
The taste of water is different. By different
Yes.
colors.
Yes.
So similar with the living entities, they are different.
It's like saying this, okay,
Different bodies they have.
I can see out of these glasses now. Why can't I see now? Does this mean the glasses are no good? Why can't I see? Should I go find fault with the Einikwala? Why couldn't I see? Why?
Covering.
Covered. That's it. So different amounts of covering. If there's a little less covering, maybe you see a little bit. It's just like Krishna says that the living entity is covered by lust. And there's 3 different ways of explaining it. Like the dust on the mirror. And what are the other 2? Who remembers?
The embryo.
The which? Oh, the embryo is like the most, being inside the embryo. And the dust on the mirror, you can see something, but not all of it.
Fire and smoke.
And the fire and smoke, yes. You can see some of it, so it's not completely covered. One is completely covered, one's partially covered, and one's less covered. They're all covered, but to different degrees. So you can't say, well, they're all just covered, right?
It's like human body. Everybody is having human body. You have human body. I have human body. There are so many people they have human body. But all the human bodies are similar. Looks like similar. But their mind is different.
Yeah. What you put in is what comes out,
Yeah,
right? Just like people have many different computers, right? but one computer has a banking program for ICICI Bank, one of them State Bank of India, one of them Wells Fargo in America, and some of them use Facebook and some of them don't, and they have different kinds of email, and they have pictures of different people, and yet they may be all the same computer made by the same company, but they each have different things inside. Like that.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Coverings. So we need to try to remove those coverings so we can see what's there. Was that okay? I didn't have a lot of time to study, but I try to study a lot in advance, just in case. Thank you. Please pray for me that my attachments can be removed and I can see Krishna in this lifetime. That's all I ask.